Good evening, it's Freddy here with Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, vote no on desegregation in McLaughlin Nation. Join me, we'll talk about the Deseg case of the 1980s, and is there still racism here in the city of Yonkers, and are we still seeing segregation? Join me.
Let's get it popping.
Good evening. I'm Freddy Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, we will discuss racism here in the city of Yonkers. Does it still exist? Is there still an underlying layer of or underlying tone of racism here in the city of Yonkers? Are we still seeing segregation in the housing? Let's talk about it, folks. I'm going to wait a little bit, just get some folks on while I fix also my earpiece here. Good evening, folks. Drop my book there. Good evening. I'm Freddy Vasquez. I do want to talk a little bit first about last night's, was it last night or the night before? The podcast on the Sage crime family. That was a big hit. That was the most viewed episode. Well, the most viewed in the shortest amount of time. And that also drew a lot of phone calls. Yeah. A lot of phone calls. But most of them were not to me. Most of the phone calls were to other people who then reached out to me. Apparently, everyone's blaming the Caters. Sorry, guys. They are calling up the Caters, various members of the Cater family, and asking them, hey, what's up with this Freddy guy? What are you guys doing? Why is he saying what he's saying? Are you guys putting him up to this? And I want to say that it has nothing to do with the Caters. I can say it again and again and again and again till I'm blue in the face, but will people believe me? In my experience in life, people believe what they want. So I will say it again, especially about the gentleman who owns the gas station here in the city of Yonkers, whose son recently got a job at Macy. Had nothing to do with the Caters. Folks, there's a lot of people giving me information. And some of the best information actually is coming from people nowhere near the Caters. These are people that have been here in the city of Yonkers for a very long time and know things. Some of them are bitter, are seeking some form of revenge. They were slighted at one point, and here's an opportunity. So, Basement Politics offers that opportunity to all those who seek some form of revenge. I'm here. politicwithfred@gmail.com. So I just wanted to put that out there. Got a lot of views, a lot of people calling. I put the information out. Basement Politics, again, is to put out the information on individuals who are running for elected positions here in the city of Yonkers. We have to know who they are. We have to know what they've done. If we want a better government, we want better representation, then we must be informed. And our votes must reflect that informed, being informed. It must reflect that we're informed, right? So that's why I do it. All right. So leave the Caters alone. Leave them alone. Leave the damn Caters alone. Anyway, let's go on. I'm going to move on to the show. Next show. Change for many is something that comes easily, especially, does not come easily, especially if it's been something that's been consistent in their lives, a consistent connection or relationship to someone or something. But for others, change comes naturally as waking up to a fresh new day. I myself envy individuals like that, people who at a moment's notice are willing to try new things, leaving the old behind. My wife embraces change. She runs towards it like a long lost relative that she has not seen in forever. I'm a little bit hesitant. I like consistency. I like to know what's going to come the next day, right? I don't like change. For residents living in Southeast Yonkers, back in the late 80s or mid 80s, any change to their community was not going to come without strong and organized fight. And a fight they gave those looking to bring low income housing across the city, one of the biggest battles in the fight for equality, not just in New York. No, not just in New York, but in the entire country. It started in 1985 with a decision by a Supreme Court judge who ruled discrimination practices here in the city of Yonkers went as far back as the 40s, the late 40s. That's right. Back to the National Housing Act of 1949, which continued unbroken through the attempted sale of School 4 in 1982, when they kind of started to realize, wait a minute, there's a segregation issue in Yonkers, and maybe we need to do something about it, right? The city of Yonkers had purposely, according to the judge, segregated its residents by cramming all public housing into 1 square mile. That was the southwest side of Yonkers, where you still find a lot of the low income and affordable housing. And I'll talk a little bit more about what's going on today. No case before this one here, the segregation case, had asked a court to decide or determine the liability of state actors for both housing and school segregation. According to the ruling, Yonkers deliberately segregated school openings and closings and attendance zone decisions to avoid assignments of either Northwest Yonkers white students to disproportionately minority schools, or minority students to disproportionately white Northwest Yonkers schools. The assignment reinforced racial imbalance that we somewhat still see today. In Yonkers, and for those who don't know, they may not live in Yonkers. I do have people who watch in other countries and other states. In Yonkers, parents are asked to pick 3 schools, right? So if their kids are entering a school, let's say elementary school for the first time, or middle school, high school, they're asked to pick their top 3 choices. I believe it's still that way. And obviously everybody picks the top 3 schools that they believe are the best for whether it be elementary or middle school. And then it's prayers after that, right? And people hope that their child gets into that number 1 school that they chose, because that is the best school in their mind for their child. But very often we see that parents don't get that first choice. And many times that has been primarily the Hispanic and Black students, Black families and Hispanic families. Now, am I going to sit here and say that all Hispanic and Blacks are attending Southwest schools? Absolutely not, because there are some Hispanic and Blacks that actually have a little bit of advantage and privilege. Yeah, it's not just reserved for whites these days if you know how to play the game. So are they still segregated? Again, I believe so, somewhat. And again, it goes to the choices that you have to pick. I hear a lot about DeCharo, Pulaski, right? These are elementary schools, I believe. And if you look at these schools, you will notice that a lot of the students' parents are city officials, city employees. Listen, they get to these schools because of that, teachers many times. And look, I'll be straight 1,000% honest, because Freddy believes in honesty. My students, my kids also attend the school that my wife works. So, we were that worked out for us. That was not something that we asked for. Absolutely not. But it just worked out that way. Right. And I remember when I was going to school, and even now, to this day, a lot of my family and friends still attend schools like Roosevelt or Lincoln, and that's Gorton maybe, right? But when I was growing up, the school that everybody wanted to get into was Saunders. Saunders was the school. We had Saunders, Gordon, Roosevelt, and Lincoln. Those are the 4 schools when I was in the school system here in the city of Yonkers. And, everybody wanted their child, when they got to high school, to get into Saunders, but you had to have certain grades. Fortunately, I was one of those students, although I didn't go to high school. Anyway, the federal judge ordered the city to integrate the schools the housing by building new housing for poor minority residents on the white middle class side of town, and a city inciting a 3-year, sometimes violent fight. So from 1985, when the judge made that decision, all the way to 88, they refused to integrate the schools and build housing on the white side of town, which was the southeast side and northeast side primarily. So they defied the judge's order. And then in 88, that's when Judge Leonard Sand ruled that if the city of Yonkers did not integrate the schools that they are in housing and build a housing in those areas in Southeast Yonkers, that they would be fined $1 million a day. $1 million a day, right? But some people didn't care. Some people didn't care. New York is diverse, right? New York is a bit funny because New York is very diverse. I've lived in different places in the United States, in the Midwest, in the South, and New York is more diverse than a lot of those places. However, I will tell you this from my own experience. New York is more racist than the Midwest and the South, in my experience. And down in the Midwest and in the South, you see a lot more interracial marriages. And when I say interracial, I don't mean black and Puerto Rican. That's like the same. I'm talking about white and blacks, as opposed to here in New York. And it's funny because people come here and they say, it's weird because it's diverse, but you guys kind of, are not integrated. No, we come here and we stay primarily to our communities. You have the Italian community, you have the Irish community, you have the Puerto Rican community, Dominican community, the black neighborhoods. So, that's kind of how New York's always been. Whereas down in the Midwest, they integrate more. In the South, they integrate more. And believe it or not, they're more like each other. Like white and blacks down there, like they dress the same, they talk the same. People up here will probably say, hey, the black people down there talk white. No, it's not that they just talk proper, I guess, right? So that was a strange thing for me. And I was like, wow, I see more mixed interracial things here. So New York can be deceiving in that way. It can be very deceiving in that way. I want to show you some documents here from the court and go over that a little bit here because it's very interesting. They wanted to close schools, right? So on November 20th, 1985, the court made the decision, with respect to housing and public schools and to integrate them. However, in 1985, like I said, they refused it. I want to read some. So these are the schools that they were going to close. School closings, implementation strategies. So if they did not segregate or integrate the schools, the court ordered that the district shall close the following schools effective September 1986, School 10, School 11, School 6, School 32, School 34, Fermi Middle School, Hawthorne Middle School, and Yonkers High. And then elementary schools, the district shall operate the following elementary schools effective September of 86, School 5, School 8, School 9, School 13, all the way down to a bunch of them. You can see that there. The attendance zones for these schools shall be set forth for those areas set forth in Appendix A. So they wanted also to integrate the attendance, mix the schools up. And so they had a certain percentage that they wanted you to mix up, or they wanted the school board and the Yonkers Public School at the time to mix it up. And I'll show you that here in a second. And also, I thought it was very interesting. Here. So here in 1986-87, if you look down here, they wanted the elementary school students to be mixed by 50%. They needed to fix 50% mix there because they felt that they weren't integrated, obviously, enough. And high school, they wanted 100% integration there. I'm highlighting that in blue. I'm not sure if you can see that very well there. So they were serious about this, the court. They were super serious. They weren't playing no games. They said, we're going to fine you. We're going to close schools. People were being laid off. 25% of the city's workforce had to be laid off as a result of the fines. But some people didn't care. Some people didn't care. So I'm going to share this. This breaks down everything that they had to do. School 16 at the point of north intersection of North Street and Nebrhan Avenue. I went to School 16 back when they integrated the schools, 88, 89. And again, that was a great thing. And I'll tell you why. That was when I started to hang out with Italian kids, and I've been hanging out with a diverse group of people ever since, and that's extremely important. Everybody, black, white, brown people, I'm talking to all of you. Okay, you human beings of various shades, it is important that we integrate and become one, right? And we do it to ourselves sometimes by constantly putting that division of color. Yes, we have some differences, but they're superficial. The similarities are what matter. We all want safe neighborhoods, good jobs, good quality housing, right? We don't want drugs in our neighborhood. I don't care what color you are or how much money you have. Anyway, so the city was going to be fined $1 million a day, which was and it was had to lay off about 25% of its workforce. The judge also ordered the school closings, and I showed you there. And then they were also going to be now introducing the Hudson River Museum School, which is now called Riverside. It was going to be opening up, and they were going to be bringing the gifted and talented program over to that side. Now, if you're not familiar with the school, that's the one that opened up there on Warburton by the JFK Marina. I went to that school after I graduated from school 16. When I went, it had been open for a year. So I was in the second year there, and I went into the gifted and talented program. Go me. I had to take a test and stuff, and I did get in. And again, why is it important to integrate the schools and bring programs like this to other sides? Because me, and I'm sure a lot other kids, Hispanic and Blacks, were able to benefit from it. And it's interesting because I was in classrooms now with predominantly white kids in Yonkers. There was one other black, maybe two black girls, and I think I was only a Spanish kid, actually. I was a Spanish guy, and everybody else was white, right? But we were in the gifted and talented program, and again, that benefited me greatly. So again, black, white, brown, pink, purple, yellow, whatever color you are, the importance of integration of the schools and providing equal opportunity and resources to all kids in all areas of the city is so important. It's so important to breaking the cycle of poverty. Okay. And I'm living proof. Excuse me. I want to curse because I'm so passionate about it. I am living proof of that. I'm supposed to be dead or in jail. And thank God that I am here today speaking to you lovely folks. So who fought hard to keep Yonkers segregated? Do these individuals still exist in the city today? Well, gosh darn it, they do. Absolutely. I'll start with a woman by the name of Bernadette McLaughlin. Name sound familiar? Right? Bernadette was one of the leaders of the anti-housing forces. All right. And she said she will stop at nothing to assure that they did not build any of the low-income housing on her side, which was the southeast side. And I just want to read a little bit from an article here. It's on my phone. Bernadette McLaughlin, an investment advisor, homeowner, and one of the leaders of the anti-housing forces, said that it's not all inevitable that the housing will be built. She pointed out that the city still opposed it, that new legal challenges were being drafted, and that there are other ways to halt the construction, which she declined to say how. Ooh, you little sneaky one, you. Bernadette McLaughlin, the mother of current Inspector General City of Yonkers, Liam McLaughlin, former city council president. I believe he was also the majority leader and minority leader. Mr. McLaughlin, from what I hear, according to sources, allegedly abuses his power, whether it's been as a majority leader, a minority leader, city council president, and now as the inspector general. With his almost $200,000 a year salary, he has done absolutely nothing, but has been assured by those who can assure him that he will maintain a position within the city as long as he is breathing. Liam McLaughlin spotted me at the St. Patrick's Day parade, and shortly after, I had a police officer, one of these, stand behind me. I went over to the guy and I said, "What happened? They send you over here?" He said, "No, I'm just making sure everything is good." Well, good between who? Me and my two children, because we were the only ones there. But I knew it was Liam because he walked right by me. He didn't look my way, but I looked right at him because we had spoken on the phone, and I had asked him, "Hey, Liam, what's up with the emails and letters you're receiving? Are you not going to respond to them?" Right? So he wanted to intimidate me, but I'm not easily intimidated. I mean, cops don't intimidate me. I'm not doing anything wrong or illegal, so I'll stand around cops all day long. Hey, guys, be safe out there. Much respect, NYPD. You guys do a great job. Gotta say that. It's very important that I gotta say that. So I do want to show some other stuff here because it's very important that we show this information. Uh, Desegregation timeline, 1920 to 1940, the only African-American neighborhood outside of Southwest Yonkers grew in an area isolated from neighboring areas. It was called Runyon Heights. It was founded on a large tract of land by a state senator who regularly brought bus loads of Black Americans from Harlem for picnics up there, right? And then I want to also show some video in a second about from 48 Hours, but I'm not sure if you folks are familiar with that, but there was actually a piece of land that divided that neighborhood, in Runyon Heights, the Black community, from the white community on the other side of that piece of land, which was called Home Field area. So it was literally like a pathway. They had these bushes that went across so they could block each other's view because they didn't, you want to see each other, I guess, or whoever put those bushes up, they didn't want to see whoever, right? And so that remained that way for a very long time. That basically was like the Great Divide, the Great Wall of China, and no one crossed it. I mean, you could easily have crossed it, but no one dare cross it. It was like an unspoken thing, and it was very bad in Yonkers, very, very bad in Yonkers. And I want to know, are we still having these issues today? Because if you look at where they're building the low income and affordable housing, it's not on the east side. They figured they built those 200 units, townhomes over there across from the raceway. But did you notice that they kept them on the other side of 87? Notice that? Right? And they did put some up on Central Avenue just before where the ground round used to be. And then it was the Boulder Creek. They tore that down. There's also some low income apartments that they built behind Nathan's in that area over there. Right? So they scattered them around. They did very well. They didn't destroy the neighborhood. They did not bring down the value of their homes there. So all of that fear mongering, Miss McLaughlin, was for no reason at all. And now I want to know, because in my experience and from my learnings and readings and whatever on racism is a learned behavior. We are not born racist. We are taught to be racist. And who are the ones that teach us to be racist? Well, our parents, who themselves are racist, right? So my question is now, was this whole racist feeling that Miss Bernadette McLaughlin had back then, which is pretty obvious from many of the articles I've read and the quotes, that they had on them from Mrs. McLaughlin? And did she pass that down to the Inspector General? And is that something that we should be concerned with? And are there other individuals within the city that still harbor some form of racism, some form of resentment to the Hispanic and Blacks forever coming to the city here of Hills where nothing's on the level? I don't know. But I do know that there are a lot of great people here in the city of Yonkers, a lot of great Black, white, Hispanic, brown, whatever you want to call them people here. I've met many of them. I've befriended many of them, and many of them have supported me in some way or another. I don't harbor any hatred toward any color, any race, any group. And I encourage everyone to do the same or be the same. We are Yonkers. We are one. Ultimately, as I said before, we all want the same thing. And I hope that we will never get to a point where we look like this. Give me 1 second, folks. I just want to make sure I got the audio.
The judge's order, desegregate now or else.
No! I don't think the people in this city are going to stand for it.
No! The homeowners answer, no way.
No! We fight all the way!
Who are they to choose who lives where?
Sit down and talk.
Could it happen here?
This right here, folks, is the city council chambers back in 1988. I love history. I just thought this was cool. I don't know. I'm a nerd.
We are the hardworking. We are the bill-paying. We are the tax-paying. And yes, we are the law-abiding backbone of American society.
In 1985, a federal court
Riverdale.
found that the city of Yonkers, a suburb just north of New York City, had intentionally discriminated against blacks and Hispanics for 40 years in schools and housing. The result, a mostly minority, mostly poor West Side, a mostly white, mostly wealthier East Side. Federal Judge Leonard Sand ordered the schools desegregated. The city obeyed.
Yeah, they're the ones.
But encouraged by enraged homeowners, the council majority defied the court order to build low and middle income housing in predominantly white neighborhoods. On the Friday night before our 48 hours began, the Yonkers City Council faced a life or death vote for the city, whether or not to finally obey the judge. 2 months earlier, he had ordered the city to pay increasing fines for each day of defiance. Today, Yonkers had incurred its first $1 million fine, with $1 million a day to follow, forcing the layoffs of 447 city workers, 1/4 of the workforce. The city would be bankrupt in a matter of weeks if the defiance continued.
These are people outside protesting. City Hall was way too packed for them to go inside. So there were massive amounts of people lined up along Nepperhan Avenue, you know, the hill, the hump there that goes over by City Hall. And they were screaming to the point where you can hear them from the inside.
It almost seems to me that there are no words even for this. I mean, it's just that bad.
29-year-old Mayor Nicholas Wasisco.
The only thing... 12 minutes, yeah.
All day, he's dreaded the midnight deadline. Either change the vote of the city council or send the city toward bankruptcy.
Yeah, I know. I just don't want to spend $2 million tonight.
Maybe they're going to serve breakfast here.
All day long, homeowners who do not
Anybody
want
know that
public
guy?
housing have been encouraging their councilman not to cave in. The mayor needs to change just one vote. Councilman Nicholas Longo had voted no. Tonight, the mayor hopes he will vote yes.
Being called back to order at 11:57. I'm going to ask for a 15-minute recess so that we can accomplish that.
For
anybody who lives in the city.
The crowd fears immediately that he is switching sides and will vote aye.
It would seem that we have no alternative at this point but to adopt the ordinance as is and to continue. It is not adopted.
It was better than before you stick it, we fight all the way. We keep you no good.
They don't have to throw us out, believe it.
So they pass it. As you can see, a lot of people were very upset there. And look at what they do as the mayor leaves. I mean, imagine this happening today. This is the mayor, 29-year-old,
and our own
youngest mayor ever, I believe.
The people of Yonkers are
Look what happens as he leaves City Hall. Think of Spano doing this.
Tonight's battle is over. Tomorrow, the war continues.
So, as you can see, people were extremely pissed off. I mean, they attacked the mayor's car. Would that happen today? There would have been some heads busted. Let that have been me. They would have knocked me, put me in jail real quick, Freddy. But they were so upset that they, attacked the mayor's car. And a little bit the police were pissed off at him, too. And you can tell because they didn't really want to help him. They didn't want to help him calm the crowd down. They didn't do much. They allowed his car to just get banged up. So it was crazy. And I'm going to show some more video, but I do want to get to some comments here. Yonkers got sued by the federal government for this, and the feds won. Yes, they absolutely did, and as it mentioned there, they were sued $1 million and $1 million every day that they did not comply, causing 25% of its workforce to be fired and laid off, basically. So because of this small group of individuals led by Bernadette McLaughlin, they had to lay off, right, 25% of the workforce. Nicholas Longo there, one of the city council members, he was also in opposition of the low-income housings going over into the southeast side, but he eventually realized he had to change his vote. The city was going to go bankrupt. Everybody was going to get laid off. Nobody was going to have a job. Then your property values were really going to go down, and it was going to be one big freaking bomb of a place where nobody was working and nobody had any money. So he realized that it was stupid of him to continue with this forward. As I recall, the fine was $1 million a day. Yes, absolutely. It's called Magnet Schools. Yep, Magnet Schools. I went to that Gifted and Talented program too, we called it. PS11 was combined with Mark Twain and renamed YMA. Yep, absolutely right. They still call it the Mark Twain Pool, however. Bravo, Freddy, for talking about being open to diversity. Yonkers officials are extremely ignorant and closed-minded. Thank you, Rocky. I appreciate that. I love all people. To me, I don't see color. I don't. And I know that may sound, yeah, Freddy, whatever. I truly don't. I mean, I've been to so many places. I've had friends of all colors and backgrounds that, it just doesn't register to me, right? It's just who you are as a person. And if you're a piece of crap person, you're a piece of crap person. But if you're a nice person, then I like you. I don't care. You could be pink for all I care. It doesn't matter to me. Now, all the schools are horrible as the politicians misuse the money, stolen gym equipment, computers, special education department with too many violations. Yeah, I don't know if all the schools are horrible. I can't attest to that. I haven't been in all the schools. I do know that there are some schools that are definitely in need of improvements. I know that there are some other schools that parents, would prefer to have their kids in, because they are in much better condition. I'm not sure exactly which schools are not, but I'm not disagreeing with you either, Carolyn. Before Spano, there was no IG. What other municipalities have one? Wasted $250. The IG was introduced back in, I think the first IG took office back in '96. And the reason for it was because of all the, the corruption that they felt was going on, and they were lacking audits and stuff like that. So it was actually created back in 1996, not so much to be a law enforcement arm of the city government or anything, but to do audits. Like the guy, I forgot what his name was, and I did talk about him in a past podcast. He created it because he wanted to be more like an auditor, right? And kind of audit the city council and the mayor and all that stuff. And the guy did for a while there. In the beginning, he did. Now, not so much. And what happens is when you get an individual there that's, there just to be there, he's not going to do his job, because his job is to, at least if there's no investigations, no legitimate ones anyway, to do audits within the different departments of the city, DPW, building department. He is supposed to, Liam McLaughlin, have done an audit and found out what the hell was going on in there, right? And the fact that they lowered the requirements to bring in Sam Borelli when the guy was suspended from DPW for poor management in 2013, I don't see why going out of the way to do. It doesn't make sense to me. You guys can figure that one out. But yeah, so excuse me. Riddle me this: why would a man hire people that failed in elections because the people what? Are you talking about Liam McLaughlin? Yeah, right. Well, he got beat by Mike Cater, and he's held a grudge ever since, which is why I believe he's jumped on that investigation. Although I want to, Liam, to give to your benefit or whatever, to your credit or whatever it is, it wasn't just you. Okay, the city council, the other 6 individuals that were with Cater at the time, they are just as guilty. Okay, they knew what they were doing as well. They signed it, and in fact, and I forgot to mention this, actually, very important. I hear that according to sources, there were 2 letters actually drafted up and signed by the Yonkers City Council in the investigation when they requested an investigation into Mike Cater. The second one was not signed by Anthony Moranti, councilman of the 6th district. Okay. I don't know. I'm trying to get a copy of that, but I hear that he felt he was tricked the first time into signing it, and that's why he didn't sign it the second time. So City Council, you guys got some explaining to do there. A lot of shit's gonna come out, and when it does hit the fan, it's gonna hit the fan. So they're like hoping they find something, because all of them are gonna lose their credibility. No sound, is that me or sound design? Okay, sound design. You guys are having trouble with it causing me, but I appreciate it because I want to know. Riddle me this: why does the mayor hire candidates that the voters did not want? How does he spit in the faces of the voters and give them city jobs? McGrath, Daley, McLaughlin, and on and on. Yeah, and you know, and that's something that's Jerry. That's something that's been mentioned a lot. You know, here, and obviously, again, you know, it's a friends and family thing, right? I guess, like people say, it's friends and family, and I hear that, you know, the McLaughlins have a history. They go way back. And I'm sure they have a history with the Spanos and other members of the you know, community here in the city of Yonkers. So there you go. You're gonna get that hookup. That's just how it works, you know. Excuse me, I'm sorry. But yeah, so it can't let that buddy. And besides, you know, when a smart thing to do as mayor, and this is just in general, smart thing to do, right? Any smart guy is going to surround himself with individuals that he can trust, that will, you know, do as he says, right? You know, the whole point of the city council is to check the mayor. So if you're a smart mayor, you're going to put people in the city council, or ensure that people get into city council that you have control over. So that way you can get 7-0 votes all the time, right? So, I mean, it's smart. It's smart. I hate to like bash people when they do smart things, you know, because I'm just like, that's smart though. I can't even lie. You know what I mean? You could, you know, you believe what you want, you think about what you want. And not that I'm saying it's right or wrong. I'm just telling you why it is what it is, the way it is. It's hard to believe anyone with 2 hateful parents can avoid the same type of mentality. I agree. Good for you, Freddy, exposing the reality. Thank you. How evil Yonkers is at its core. The criminalist behavior is exactly the same as any drug dealer and street thug. Yes, it's just dressed differently. Absolutely. This is shameful, but glad you're exposing it. Thank you. Look at how vile they are and yet point fingers at minorities. Well, you know, people are going to do that. They're going to always try to throw those who they feel that they are more powerful than under the bus. And you know, for a very long time, you know, in this country, minorities have been looked at as weaker individuals. And so, you know, but again, I hate to generalize. So, you know, individuals who are racist, you know, these are ignorant people who don't want to see change. They're very resistant to the change, and they're going to have a hard time. And that's why they continue being that way, because they get more bitter and bitter as change occurs, and they can't deal with it, right? But it is what it is. But I do want to say this, okay? I don't care if I get flack. Listen, folks, my Latinos especially, we also have to acclimate to the communities here in the United States, okay? We can't expect to come here, and I'm not saying leave your culture behind or nothing. It's not what I'm saying. Don't create straw man arguments. What I'm saying, though, is if we are to be one and united, we have to have a common identity. We can't say, okay, you guys are like this and you guys are like that and you're over here like that, because we're always going to have that difference and division, right? And then we're going to be like in just separate groups. So we have to have, and this is what I meant back in the Midwest with between blacks and whites. I mean, they had some form of identity that was the same, and, you know, so that gave them a common bond and unity, right? That helped them get along, right? Because they're focused more on their similarities. So we have to develop a single identity to a certain extent in order for us to come together, right? It just has to be that way, folks. You know, and we are Americans. You're Puerto Rican American, Irish American, Black American. Although Black American, you guys are just, I mean, yeah, you could trace it all the way back, but we all could trace our lineage back to Africa at some point, right? So really, Black, you guys are really the most Americans, pretty much, besides Native Americans, I think. You know, you didn't ask me, bro, right? So, but yeah, so we have to find, I think, that common identity. No, our mayor has a taxpayer car and our police. Yeah, they don't give protection to I don't know what the city charter says about that. Yes, the mayor does have a driver. I believe the driver is a police officer. And yes, he does have a cop car. It's very cool. I gotta say, I love cars. I'm a car guy. That's a dope truck, man. And when the lights is on, it's like one of those Hess trucks, for Christmas time. I want that. Our mayor has a taxpayer expensive truck. Yeah, and police protection. But I mean, is that not okay? I don't know. I mean, I think the mayor of Mount Vernon also has police, a driver in a police vehicle. They're a lot smaller city. And again, I'm just wondering because I don't know all the specifics on that. Let's see what happened when he goes for the 4th term. Sooner or later, their luck will run out. Pride comes before the fall. Well, I'm hearing that he's ready to go. That's what I'm hearing, right? But again, I don't know if that's necessarily all the way true. We'll see when it's here. We have to wait, folks. I have a feeling he's going for. I mean, look, even if it wasn't for nefarious reasons, right? I mean, if you want to put a spin on it, because I'm good at that marketing stuff, publicist, right? If you want to put a spin on it, you want to follow and you want to finish it, right? You want to see everything that's going on through. You started it. You feel like you should be the guy to finish it, right? And I get it. And I know you guys, I get it. I just hear me out there for 1 second. And again, I'm just playing devil's advocate. You want to see it completed as opposed to having someone completely new, even new people. And then it's just kind of, might get whatever confused. I don't know. But so I think that's the way you can sell it. I mean, the unstoppable Yonkers, that was, I agree with you, Carolyn. That was a way of saying, hey, I'm going for the 4th term. That's what I think. But sources close to the mayor say no, he's ready to be done with it. But again, I mean, they're not going to say, he's going to go for a 4th term. So I'm not going to be naive, and I'm not going to take that as a disrespect because you lied. Okay, I get it. I get why you lied. If you lied, because you never know. I don't know. We won't know till it happens, right? You have your hands full, but there's rumors of Mount Vernon Yonkers working on developments. Yeah, absolutely. I know there's developments going to be going up in Yonkers, and I was at an event for the mayor of Mount Vernon sometime last year, I believe. I don't remember exactly where it was when it was over at the Castle Royale, and she said Nick Spano and some other developer guys were in attendance, and she said, we're not going to sell Mount Vernon cheap, right? We know what we're worth. So obviously they're expecting developments and stuff like that. Was she just saying that to say that, and then they're gonna, whatever? I don't know. Unfortunately, and this is again nothing against the mayor of Mount Vernon or anyone in particular, just in general, we have, been conditioned to expect bullshit from politicians, right? Is it me? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. Who knows? The real mayor is Nick Spano. He calls the shots. Yeah, that's the boss man. That is the boss man. And people hate when I be like, hey, Freddy, listen, look, I'm not a hater, so meaning like whether you're, right or wrong, I still got to be like, you still got to sometimes, I can appreciate certain things, but yeah, that's the guy. And that, and running the show. And one thing I was talking to somebody about this today, I've heard things like the Spanos are stupid. And again, I'm not. People like Freddy just trying to defend them. No, it's really not that. But if people say stupid, they've even said negative things like the mayor is on the spectrum, meaning that he's autistic, which I don't think that's true. But you have to say this. You have to see. Maybe there's got to be some level of intelligence to manage to be there as long as they've been there, right? I mean, however they've done it, there's still, it takes some intelligence. I mean, it just is. So, and I say that to everyone. So in life, don't hate, give people the benefit of the doubt. Don't assume people are not capable. Always assume they're more capable, right? Because you may just end up being sorry for underestimating people. So, but yeah, so that's the podcast there for the, what we have, 44 minutes. Wow. Yeah. So I wanted to go over that and show that I've actually posted those videos up. It's from a 48 hours episode from 1988. Go check it out. It's 4 parts. I only played the first part there. But you can go on the page and see all the other videos. And maybe I want to show this. Actually, this is super interesting right here. Look at slow bombs. This is crazy. back in the day. I mean, whoa, slow bombs.
Jacobs are patrolmen in the southwest section of Yonkers.
See him say move it. Look at him. There they go.
Today, they police the very project where Tim grew up 20 years ago.
I moved out of here in about 66, 67 when I was 6 or 7 years old. This is a totally different place. You see what the hallways are like. Back then, they used to make the people that lived there go and sweep the hallways, clean them out. Now there's all sorts of urine, feces all over crack piles. That's all new to this place.
So what do they use this for?
Had their little crack parties. Wine parties, they'll crash in here.
You gotta remember something, Harold. These complexes people live in. They're decent people. Most
Anybody
of
know
the
that
problems
officer? He
that
looks
occur
familiar,
there are
this
from the
guy.
deals who don't live there. Everybody has a right to live and live safely. Most of the people down there are decent human beings. They're just enslaved by drug dealers.
You're in fear, you know. Once you get inside the door, you feel better.
Listen to what this lady
But as
says.
far as living here, it's nowhere, no place to raise a child. No place.
Shirley Sneed is a single mother who agrees with Officer Jacobs.
So how was school today, Jason?
She knows how it feels to be trapped.
In our class, business is easy. We took a test.
She's lived in these projects for 2 years.
But Shirley, we're right now behind your apartment building. What happens here at night?
Okay, from my kitchen window, I can see transactions. I can see.
You see drug transactions?
Right. I can't tell you exactly what they're selling. Can't see that, but I see the money being passed and who's running.
You hear gunshots around here frequently?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all
There
the
was
time.
gunshots in my building, and I called the police, and I told them that I heard gunshots, and they said to me, "Well, what floor?" You know, I said, "Well, I'm not going to stick my head out the door to find out what floor the gunshots are." And I never saw them come.
You never saw them come?
No.
You're describing an atmosphere of fear here.
It is.
And a
I
whole
want
bunch
you
of
to hear
bad
what she
people
says
who
right here
live.
because she's talking about how people don't want her on the southeast side, and she doesn't understand why. Because, like I said, she wants the same exact thing as the individuals who live on the southeast side: a safe neighborhood, a clean neighborhood, quality housing. Right? That's her son behind her, and she wants him to have a chance.
In this complex, and they think that that's what's going to come on the east side of town. Do they have a reason to be?
Everybody is not bad. I mean, you have quite a few people that work. You know, they work and they raise their children. They're trying to raise their children the right way. There are plenty of people like that. You know, everybody is not bad that lives in municipal housing.
They worry about the neighborhood.
So, like she said, just because you live in low income housing and you live in affordable housing, you're poor, doesn't mean that you're not someone who's capable of coming out of poverty. That doesn't mean that you're not a good, decent person. That doesn't mean that you commit crimes. It just means that, unfortunately, your circumstances in life are not as fortunate as others. People are people, and no matter where they're from, we all have and should be given an opportunity to better ourselves. We should be given a chance, regardless of color. Everyone has experienced some form of racism, hate, even genocide, whether you're white, black, or brown, because genocides, hatred, racism has occurred all over the world throughout the history of humanity. And we need to start changing that. And it starts with each and every one of us. We each have a responsibility to make that change. And sure, we can expect our elected officials to be the ones to implement changes here in the city of Yonkers, but ultimately, this is our city, and it is up to us to make the change. I'm Freddy Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. Thank you for joining me tonight. I appreciate all those who have been watching lately and everyone who's been watching from day one. Thank you, guys. I appreciate everything, the support, the appreciations, the thank yous. All of that means a lot. It energizes me. It keeps me going. And it's funny that today I got a lot of that. And I was feeling last night of, whether or not, I was wondering whether or not people appreciated what I was doing, and then today I got the answer. So thank you, folks. I'm Freddy Vasquez, Basement Politics. Let me just go to a couple of, the Knicks henchmen are Steve Levy. I've met with Steve Levy. I like the guy. He always says that he's always nice to me. But look, again, you could be right, Carolyn. I'm not disagreeing with you. And Jim Kavanaugh, now that guy, I know about him. That guy, Battery Park guy. Hey, you Battery Park guy. How's Wilson doing? Why they call her Wilson? Laura's so much better. They worked with him in the Senate, Sally. Yes, that's where a lot of them start in New York State Senate. Also, what's her name? Roseanne Gallego. You know who I'm talking about. Dennis's wife. Sally, Mike does have a disability. Is it? Does he? I never noticed. And it's not so bad, but he doesn't run the city. Yeah, there's always a wizard that is behind the veil operating the controls. That's life. My wife is that wizard behind my veil. What's wrong with the minorities that grew up in Yonkers and now are under slavery all over again by working under those that perpetuate this racist regime? Any minority who is turning a blind eye has the same blood on their hands. And I spoke about that very recently. And I don't want to single people out, but when I hear things like certain individuals saying that they are the gatekeepers to the Hispanic community, now that's not going to sit well with me. That's definitely not, because you is not a gatekeeper. I will run through that gate, kick that gate down, drive my car through it, okay? I mean, I don't know how else to say it. You are not the gatekeeper, all right? We, as a community, are the gatekeepers. There's no one individual. This is not an I thing. This is a we thing. And if you don't start thinking like that, you're going to go and be a B thing, because you will no longer be anything here in the city of Yonkers. You understand that? I'm Freddy Vasquez. Thank you, folks. Unity. Black, white, brown, pink, purple, yellow. What other colors do we come in? Any gray, folks? Oh, yeah. They have yet to land. Thank you, folks, for joining me. I'm Freddy Vasquez. Have a beautiful night. I will see you when I see you. Peace. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. That was your Deseg case episode. Vote no on desegregation in McLaughlin Nation. Talked a little bit about the desegregation case of 1985 and up to the late 80s. Are we still a segregated city today? Well, if you look around, it's sad to say yes. But have we come a long way? Absolutely, guys. Have you seen that? Did you see that video? We absolutely have come a long way, but we have some more, a ways to go. And I know we will get there, because there are a lot of beautiful people in this city. But let's not let them change it, folks. We are Yonkers. Have a good night.
Freddy wins. Fatality. Freddy wins. Fatality.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vasquez. You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddy Vasquez.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddy Vasquez.
Freddy wins.
Thank you for...
Fatality.
No!